You lie. 5 years later. Remember when that happened in the Congress? He's been vindicated in spades. Stay with us. We're going to be right back, and we're going to have a special report from Ferguson. Stay with us.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to INFOWARSstore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Group. Today I'd like to talk about the war on women. You've experienced and heard about the benefits of super male vitality. Now, the new formula has arrived. Introducing the new Super Female Vitality. I have specifically designed this formula to help the body naturally regulate itself without the use of artificial hormones. Key ingredients chosen from the highest quality sources. Each of these ingredients works synergistically with the female body in order to maximize overall vitality. You've heard the reviews and the feedback on how the original Super Male Vitality has revitalized relationships. Now, both the man and the woman can have the revitalization in their own bodies with Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality. Secure your Super Female Vitality today from our limited stock at InfoWarsLife.com.
Welcome back. Now remember this from 5 years ago?
There are also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This too is false. The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true.
But he was actually telling the truth, and we've seen it now on multiple occasions. 2 years later, in 2011, he pointed this out. He said that they were awarding, as part of Obamacare, $28.8 million to 67 community health care centers at that time, 2011, around the country that would inevitably end up benefiting illegal immigrants, contrary to Obama's pledge. He said of that $28.8 million, $8.5 million is earmarked to target migrant and seasonal farm workers, and they won't even ask for immigration status. They want to avoid any questions about immigration status. The fix was in from the very beginning. That's why the Republican leadership, as well as the Democratic leadership, leaned on him so heavily, because he hit on two things that the elites in both parties want, and that is government control of health care and open borders. Now, in 2014, we see it extended even farther, even more of an vindication for the "you lie." The National Review points out that his "you lie" wasn't wrong, it was prescient. Now, Wilson pointed out that in 2011, 2 years after he called Obama a liar, saying that he wasn't going to extend benefits to immigrants, illegal immigrants, he pointed out that a $28.8 million program, of that program, $8.5 million was earmarked to target migrant and seasonal farm workers. And he said the key is that they're not going to ask for their immigrant status. They're going to avoid their immigration status. So, in other words, they were going to quietly and covertly extend this to illegal immigrants by targeting a migrant workers program and not looking at citizenship status. But now it's gotten a lot more explicit. Now we fast forward to today, and as National Review points out, Joe Wilson's "you lie" wasn't wrong, but prescient. They say fast forward to 2014, and lo and behold, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Sylvia Burwell, called for extending Obamacare benefits to dreamers, in other words, illegal immigrants. Now, of course, the reason he was called out, the reason he had to apologize, was because both the Democrat and the Republican leadership wanted both Obamacare In other words, a takeover of the health industry by corporations, a massive transfer of wealth to the corporations, and control by government. And they both wanted open borders and illegal immigration. We can see that in another piece of news that was unearthed by Got News, a 2006 speech by Romney as they ended Romney Care, and he's handing out the congratulations to the people that helped to get this through. Guess who he singled out? The guy that we have seen bragging about deceiving the public for Obamacare, Jonathan Gruber. Here's what Romney had to say in 2006 about Jonathan Gruber getting Romney Care passed.
Let me mention as well the legislators and staff who worked with the president and the speaker. There were contributors from outside government, as you know. Jonathan Gruber at MIT devoted hours and hours to an essential econometric model. Jonathan Gruber at MIT.
Another example of what many people were saying, what we were saying at the time, Obamacare is exactly the same as Romney Care. Of course, you had to vote for Romney because you didn't want Obama to get in, right? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Obama, of course, said that it was going to be the most transparent administration in U.S. history. Yes, they are the most transparent liars in history. And of course, Jonathan Gruber has become the poster child for how they deceived the American public, bragging about it over and over again. Jonathan Gruber, the consultant to the liars, and now the liars are trying to deny that he was their consultant. John Bound has this report.
Massachusetts Institute of Technologies, Jonathan Gruber is one of the most respected economists in the world. Said in today's Washington Post, here's a quote, "Here's a bill that reduces the deficit, covers 30 million people, 30 million more people, and has a promise of lowering premiums." Pretty good statement.
We're not finished getting all of our reports back from CBO, but we'll have a side-by-side to compare. But our bill brings down rates. I don't know if you have seen Jonathan Gruber of MIT's analysis of what the comparison is to the status quo versus what will happen in our bill. I don't know who he is. He didn't help write our bill. I don't know if you have seen Jonathan Gruber of MIT's analysis. I don't know who he is. He didn't help write our bill. And so, with all due respect to your question, you have a person who wasn't writing our bill commenting on what was going on when we were writing the bill.
Did you mislead Americans about the taxes, about keeping your plan, in order to get the bill passed?
No, I did not. I just heard about this. I get well briefed before I come out here. The fact that some advisor who never worked on our staff.
A lot in that room was think about, well, how could we make this work? And Obama's like, well, you know, I mean, he's really a realistic guy. He's like, look, I can't just do this. He said, it's just not.
Some advisor who never worked on our staff expressed an opinion that I completely disagree with.
Next time I see him is summer 2009. The big issue there is that he really wants to make sure we're moving forward on cost control.
I think it's fair to say that there was not a provision in the healthcare law that was not extensively debated and was fully transparent.
Lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, you know, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass.
And to me, the most important piece, and in some sense the piece I guess I'm most disappointed that Doug and I disagree on, is the Cadillac tax. Okay, economists have called for 40 years to get rid of the regressive, inefficient, and expensive tax subsidy to employer-provided health insurance. No economist, and I'm sure Doug agrees with this, no economist would ever set up a health system with a tax subsidy to employer-provided health insurance. It's a terrible policy. Turns out politically, it's really hard to get rid of. And the only way we could take it on was first by mislabeling it, calling it a tax on insurance plans rather than a tax on people, and we all know it's really a tax on people who hold those insurance plans. And the second way was to start it late. Started in 2018.
This is one guy. I don't know who this guy was. All I know is that it's important for people to have health insurance. And if you guys are saying people shouldn't have health insurance, I don't know where you're coming from. Are you that cruel? That is what you're saying.
Well, Mike, the fact is, I think it's actually Republicans who haven't been particularly transparent or even honest about the true impact of those. Well, it is Republicans who have been less than forthright and transparent.
It's not true. And one more. misunderstanding I want to clear up. Under our plan, no federal dollars will be used to fund abortions, and federal conscience laws will remain in place. Now,
what's wrong with Gruber?
You can defuse it, right?
You kidding me? Look at all this crap. Like 1 million wires in here. I'm like a 3-wire guy.
MacGruber. And remember in that video that Romney praised Jonathan Gruber for, as he put, devoted hours and hours to an essential econometric model. And of course, that econometric model has now failed. The costs are exploding on Romney Care. That's how the experts lie. It's with models, whether it's tortured econometric models or whether it's climate change models where they hide the decline. Now, the other thing that never seems to change, of course, is the police brutality and corruption, especially in Ferguson. We see today in an article from INFOWARS, Kit Daniels, Ferguson cop is accused of raping a woman in jail. This is a lawsuit that was just filed. A pregnant woman says she was raped in jail by a Ferguson police officer last year, according to a federal lawsuit that was filed on Friday. The woman was stopped by the accused officer because her license plates were expired and said that he arrested her because she gave him a false name, subsequently intimidated her into being raped in order to get her freedom. So that lawsuit was just filed on Friday. Today, the governor has declared martial law, Governor Nixon. And we have reporters on the scene. Jakari Jackson and Joe Biggs filed this report.
This is Jakari Jackson reporting for INFOWARS.com. We just got news of a state of emergency. This is Executive Order 1414 signed by Governor Nixon. And it says, Governor Nixon of the state of Missouri, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution. And it says, I hereby declare a state of emergency exists in the state of Missouri. And also, he's going to have the Missouri State Highway Patrol together with the St. Louis County Police Department and the St. Louis Metropolitan Police to operate as a unified command to protect civil rights. And it also says that the St. Louis County Police shall have command and operational control over the things going on in the city of Ferguson, Missouri. Now, of course, we've seen the St. Louis County Police. They were out there, rubber bullets, tear gas, aiming guns at people in the crowd. I had a chance to speak to the police chief the last time I was here, and he said, yeah, we made some mistakes. We'll do some adjustments. It looks like they're back up to bat. So we'll see what happens if those changes are going to be made, if they're going to make any difference. Of course, we're waiting to hear what's going to happen with Officer Darren Wilson. Is he going to be indicted? We were at the courthouse earlier today. There was a protest. I guess about 50 people or so were out there. And, they just want to find out what happened to Mike. Of course, we hear a lot about the violent protesters, the rioters, the looters, the people threatening to come in and burn down the city to loot and pillage and all that stuff. But you can't forget that you also have peaceful protesters, peaceful demonstrators, and they're being very much overshadowed by all this threat of violence. So we hear about these guys. Also, DHS has trucks in the vicinity. We've been told by a military source who lost his job because of releasing that information. So stay tuned to INFOWARS.com. We're here. We're ready. We're going to be out in the streets as soon as the verdict happens, and we'll give you more reports. Stay tuned. INFOWARS.com. This is Jakari Jackson for INFOWARS.com. We're in Clayton, Missouri, where we're expecting to hear the verdict on whether Officer Darren Wilson will be indicted for the situation with Mike Brown. If you walk with me for a moment, this area is pretty dead right now, except for a few media trucks you can see over here on the sides. We see CBS, we see Frontlines out here, multiple other organizations as well. But something that caught my attention when I walked up to this building, there's a sign on here besides the leave your guns outside sign. This one says cancel. They're canceling classes here in this building. Now, I would suspect it has something to do directly with the violence that they expect to happen should Officer Darren Wilson get off. Now, we've already been talking about there's a lot of people on social media saying they're going to riot regardless. Just like, during after a football game or a hockey championship, people go out and they flip over cars, they tear down the street signs and all that wild stuff. Hopefully none of that stuff will happen, but there's been a lot of talk about it. The business owners are taking this seriously. We see in Ferguson, Missouri, they're boarding up the windows, taking all the necessary precautions. We see that DHS is in town. The police officers are ready to go should something happen. So stay tuned to INFOWARS.com as we bring you the most up-to-date information.
Well, that's it for tonight's news. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're not a Prison Planet TV subscriber, please support our operation by becoming one. Now, of course, Alex today extended the number of people who could watch live each